Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call to order the study session for the Plan Commission for April 21st. Sergio, roll call, please.
Bob Burleson,
Here.
Yolanda Cardona,
I'm here.
John Gill,
Here.
Donna Little,
Here.
Jason Vlasic,
Here.
Nancy Woland,
Here.
John Kennedy,
Here.
Attorney Adam Decker,
Here.
Town Engineer Ken Kraus,
Here.
and Councilman Brian Blazak, liaison.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Awesome. Thank you. First on the agenda, we have Martin's Commercial Edition, Lot 9 proposal. It's all Jeff here. Jeff, good evening, sir.
Good evening. Tonight this is I think my third time here. I've have provided a different site plan for your review. Some things we addressed were removing this parking along the access road. I provided a luminous plan, a landscape plan, an irrigation plan, and I'm here to answer any questions you might have based upon these changes that we've made and that were submitted to Sergio, who presented them to you all.
Very good. I will open up to the board for any questions regarding the updated site plan.
The island south of the building there on the west side,
Yes.
I think we talked about pulling that towards the east so that if it headed north, they could turn into the pickup lane.
I think Mr. Tringa addressed that with your city engineer, and they did make those changes.
Oh.
He also wanted us to put a stop sign there, which we will put a stop sign there just for traffic. But if I remember right, he did make that change.
Okay, it looks worse than before. I don't know if I.
So Bob,
Bob, there's also a do not enter sign there on that west driveway, on the south of the drive-through lane. So there should be no cars coming in from the south to turn into that drive-through lane.
Okay, are you talking about coming? Okay, coming.
Oh, okay, you're gonna stop it by having a sign there,
Pardon?
Ken?
Well, that's the premise, Bob. You know how that'll go if somebody came in the wrong driveway. But with the curve there, it's gonna make it awfully difficult for them to do a U-turn in there. They're gonna have to drive in, park in a space, turn around and come back in from the north.
Yep, of course, I don't want you to give away any trade secrets, but do you have a tenant for the southern end of the building and this type of pickup? Is this something like
It's like a Domino's pizza.
it's like a Domino's, so it won't be someone and I'm sorry for jumping in, Bob, is the queue area, I've seen queue areas, so if it's just, someone has to order.
No, there'll be no ordering here.
Okay,
It'll be we'll order online, and then you'll just drive through to pick up. There won't be as you'd see at a McDonald's or something, a large order. It's just a drive-through window.
okay, I'm sorry, Bob.
No, it's just, yeah, I mean, the first sheet, it shows it sticking out like more than the second sheet that's in our packet here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the first sheet shows a larger,
Oh, it looks 718. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, that Mr. Tringa and your city engineer discussed this, and I think they did make the necessary changes, as far as I was aware of.
Ken, any line of sight issue coming out of the drive-through, the pickup lane only, where you come out? I would imagine most of the traffic will turn left or north. Any concern if cars are parked in the southern parking spots on the east side of the
No,
building?
they also provided a, what they call auto turn, showing the cars leaving the parking lane and headed up north to leave the site. There's plenty of space to make that turn.
Okay, I understand there's plenty of movement, but is there a line of sight issue?
No,
No?
no,
Okay.
we're good on, yeah,
Okay,
we're good on that unless there's like a, a big old box van or something that's, parked incorrectly in that first space.
Sergio, what are the development variances he'll be seeking at BZA?
We'll be seeking 2 development variances, one being the size of the lot and the other one being the square footage of the building.
Okay.
So we reduced those variances from 4 to 2, as per your request.
Jeff, I know you've put a lot of work into it, has plans here. Any consideration of turning the building? I know our variance calls for the building to be linear along the major thoroughfare. Would you be able to access more parking if you turn the building?
No,
Okay.
we discussed that with Turinga.
Okay,
It's just where the building lines are set up on the existing plat. So this is the most logical way to lay it out.
you don't know unless you ask, Jeff, so that's, I'm just asking. So,
Totally understand.
I guess, like, if that salon's still coming in, you got 19 spots for 19 employees, I'm just, parking, so, okay.
Hey, Sergio, do you have that plan up on your screen? Because all I see is a big green S.
Yes, it's up on the screen.
Can you share that with
Let
me?
me see. Yeah, you know what? Let me hit the share button. You're right. Is that working?
It's thinking about it. There it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions for the board? Concerns, comments? So Jeff, what's your plan for the public hearing? Are you going to wait till after the development variances in May and then look for a public hearing in June? Is that your?
I think that's our plan right now. The Turinga's filled out basically all the documentation. Did she get that to you, Sergio, yet?
Sorry?
For the variant, they're talking about the variances?
Yes, yes. I'm working with Nancy on that,
Yes,
yes.
so we're working on that right now.
Ken, Sergio, board, any other questions, comments? All right,
All right, so thank you very much. I'll see you in a month.
okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, next on is Greystone Unit 1. Mr. Slager, how are you this evening?
Good evening. Jack Slager with Schilling Development, representing CWS Holdings, the developer of Greystone. We will be attending the May 5th Plan Commission meeting for a public hearing for this project. This is the last section of single-family lots in Greystone on the east side of Calumet. The part of Greystone Unit 1, which was approved 4 to 5 years ago, but in the interim, we picked up an additional 5 acres of property down in the southeast corner, so we're modifying the plat slightly from the original plan that was approved 5 years ago to pick up an additional 13 lots down in the southeast corner. We did the advertising in the paper, we sent out the legal notices, and we've placed the sign. I didn't realize until I emailed back and forth with Sergio this week, because we still did the 2 newspaper advertisement and the 20-day posting of our legal notices in the paper. But Sergio informed me that you've now gone to 1 newspaper and 10-day notice, so we're advertised plenty in advance. So he's pulled up the plan, and it's just a slight modification, swung the road a little further out in the southeast corner to pick up the additional 13 lots. We're also expanding the detention pond slightly, and there are the 2 lots on the left side at the very bottom, yeah, right there. Those are part of the recently annexed. The rest of this parcel was all in the town of St. John, but those 2 lots, we bought a small piece off of the neighbor. His property was not in the town of St. John, so we had to go through the annexation procedure on that little half acre. So you've seen this plan before as we went through the annexation process. That was recently heard, and the annexation ordinance has been adopted for that parcel. So the annexation is complete. We're in the waiting period right now, post-annexation waiting period, but the ordinance has been adopted for the annexation.
At the proper zoning?
That's a great question.
Because annex come in at R1, so you would have to get approval from the town council, anything other than an R1.
I would have to check and see how that was annexed in, how it was actually worded. The rest of this site is PUD. From the very beginning, it was platted as a PUD, so we're calling this a PUD amendment. So I don't know, Sergio, if you would have the annexation ordinance available.
We could pull the PUD ordinance that this fell under. Typically what happens is it's an amendment to the PUD, which identifies the legal description, particulars, what will be changed on that.
Right, okay.
So Sergio, I'm assuming that it meets the PUD ordinance that this plat does. You would let us know if there was anything.
Correct, yes. What he proposed meets the current PUD ordinance, other than those 2 lots that would fall under the previous PUD that was approved 5 years ago.
So we may have to do something different for those, we may have to rezone those 2 lots, essentially.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I just want to I know you're going through that process
Yeah.
now, but that's a town council, and I think
I
they
got
can
you.
make that determination. So we just want to make sure how that ordinance read, that how we'll handle those 2 lots.
okay.
Any other questions from the board, comments? All right, Jack, anything else for us?
One other question for Sergio, I guess. I didn't, when we come back at the May 5th meeting, we are planning also to come in for preserve for final plat for Phase 5. We talked about that the last couple of meetings, but it didn't make it on tonight's agenda. I don't think there's anything we need to discuss further. It's just a final plat of the latest phase of preserve, so
We could pull that and see what where we're at with that. You could brief me on that, and then
okay. But yeah, so we do plan to be here in 2 weeks for that also,
the
this
preserve?
preserve final plat, but we've discussed that a couple times. That'll
I've
include
called Public Works to see what's outstanding as far as infrastructure work is on that Preserves 5.
Yes,
And I believe all the underground utilities are in, but the streets are not finished yet, right?
correct. So today I was out with Bob Davis and we did the proof roll on the stone. The curbs are in, the stone is in. We did the proof roll on the stone and they will be paving tomorrow. So probably by mid-next week, all of the asphalt will be down. We are doing binder and surface, and they'll be completed by about next Wednesday. So by the time we get to our meeting in 2 weeks on May 5th, everything will be done out there.
So we won't need a letter of credit anymore?
Correct.
Okay. You know, the fees are different now than they were when you started that job. When you started that job, there was a $900 fee minimum. Now it's $1,500. And it's still based on 2% of construction costs.
Okay.
So if you have no construction costs, I'm not sure what to do with the difference in the fee. Sergio, do you have any ideas on that?
no, I don't, Ken, sorry.
Yeah, I'll have to give that some thought.
Yeah, just let me know, whatever the fee is, we'll make sure we get it paid by the next meeting.
The amendment doesn't change the amount of units from the original PUD ordinance.
It will, yes, you're going back to Greystone?
Yeah, the Greystone,
Yeah,
yes.
we're adding 13 new residential
That's
single-family
within
lots.
the ordinance, which is allowable within the ordinance.
I'll have to check that.
Sergio, let's just make sure that that's allowable under the
Pull the ordinance and see
ordinance
if that needs to
from
be amended.
5 years ago, yeah.
Yep.
I didn't know if what the ordinance read 5 years ago,
Yeah,
and
I'll
just to
have to-
make sure.
I'll have to check that too. They're the same size lots as everything else we've done in there, so, should fall, I don't know if there was a limit as to the number of lots. It's not, I know you're thinking about like the Gates where they had a maximum number of lots. I don't think we did that here, but we'll check and see
Okay.
what that is.
Just trying to dot the i's, cross the t's, so.
Okay. Okay, that's all I had. I will be back in 2 weeks.
Anyone online or anyone here have any questions, comments for Jack regarding this? Before we let him go for the evening, I think.
All right, thank you.
Hearing none, thanks, Jack. Next on the agenda, we have Parish Woods, proposal for a 27 single-family lot on Parish Avenue. Hello there, sir.
Gentlemen, good evening. I'm obviously not Ryan Fleming from 1110 LLC. I'm John Schmaltz of Burkestans and Carberry, representing the developer. At least a couple of you know that earlier this week, Ryan became a father for the first time. And he's still learning whether or not he might be able to catch up on sleep here anytime in the next 18 years or so.
He's gonna learn it the hard way.
I've told him no.
He's gonna learn it the hard way.
I told
Very
him
much
it
so.
it doesn't change. The issues just get more expensive as the children grow. First of all, thanks to Sergio and Adam, and Sergio, it's nice to meet you in person, for doing so much over the last couple of days to bring me up to speed on something that I know has been pending for a while, and I think it was last in front of the study session in December, so there's been some passage of time before much attention had been given to a few of these items that, again, Adam was nice enough to recap for me in a discussion we had earlier today. There's 4 or 5 items here. Thanks for pulling up the plat. This is a primary subdivision plat that is up at the May 5th Plan Commission hearing. And before we get to that point, there are a few remaining items, the first of which has to do with the line that would be 113th Avenue going east and west. That's not situated north and south, right over on the right side of the plat drawing there. That ordinarily would tie into the intersection and the curb cut to the west, I guess it would be. In this case, there are some delineated wetlands that are at the rear of lots 15 and 16 as they're drawn there, which of course makes it, at the very least, impracticable, if not impossible, to have that road get cut through. In lieu of that, the intersection with Parish would be between what's shown on here as lots 18 and 19, and to the extent that's something eligible for a waiver by the Plan Commission, I know my client would request that. Very similar issue that was asked about was the number of access points along Parish Ave. That in order to comply with the requirement, of course, this interior street that curves around and the U connects at both of those locations over near lots 28 and lot 19. To be clear, and this is related to another question that was asked, none of the lots that are adjacent to Parish Ave would have any actual access to or from those in terms of a driveway or anything. All the driveways would be situated off of Parish Ave and would connect only to the interior street there. Another question had to do with the area and radius of lots 4 and 5, and then again for the lots really that are adjacent to Parish Ave here, 18, 19, 22, 23, and then 25 and 28. 24 already contains an existing home, and there the question again, it's direct vehicular access to and from any of those lots to the arterial street, Parish Ave. None of those have or will have allowed under our plat and the corresponding declaration any direct access. Those are all going to be required to be on the interior street, so there are no, other than the street itself, any curb cuts to or from Parish Avenue. Another requirement, Adam, thanks for pointing this out, under the ordinance that requires at least 20% additional width of corner lots is an issue with respect to 4 and 5, kind of up in one corner, and then 14 and 15 down at that southeastern corner. Here, the challenge is that those are not at the corner at right angles. Both have a radius along the street, and then that sort of half cul-de-sac at 4 and 5. More of a technical question here. Wasn't able to go to my client and see if we could provide a measurement for those, because I don't know if the measurement is the length of the arc at the curved frontage, or if it's a straight line measurement, or if it's an average of the width, since those are sort of these pie-shaped lots. They are significantly larger than the adjacent
It would be a straight
ones.
line measurement at the building line.
At the building line, okay.
Yes. But the corner lot 20% deal is more for like lots 28, 19, and 18, where you have
Off of
a
Parish.
perpendicular street coming in, and you need that extra width because of building setback lines.
Right, right. Okay, and we do have some measurements there, but I need to verify whether in fact or how they relate to the additional 20% beyond what the minimum width would be. And we'll obviously get that information. Now, to the extent they don't satisfy the additional 20% requirement, simply because of the layout and the fact that those are accessible only to and from the interior street, it's very likely the developer may request administrative waiver from the commission at that May 5th hearing. Last time I'm aware of course, is the decel lane and/or blister along Parish Avenue. Did discuss that with our client, and he's aware of it, of the need to include that and improve it adjacent to the platted land here. I don't think he's been in communication with the engineering staff or public works director on that. I'm going to have to verify that he will be able to communicate with them here this week. We want to make sure that's answered well before the May 5th hearing, but he is aware of the requirement and intends to install those. Going off of the notes on my phone, I don't have anything else, but wondered if there's any questions or comments on those or other items before the commission meeting.
Thank you, John.
Yeah,
I just had a couple, if I may.
Go ahead, Ken.
With the no access to Parish Avenue, there is commonly put a no access easement along that frontage to prevent that from happening in the future. So I would like to see some line. It could be a 5-foot wide no access easement to prevent driveways being put there. What about the existing house? Is it going to keep its driveway to Parish?
Yeah, the existing house will not change. That will maintain its existing access point. With respect to the limited access line or easement, our intention was to address that as part of the restrictive covenants that not only would require units be built without any direct access to parish, but of course would prevent any owner from installing a new access point at any point in the future. We really hadn't discussed about doing it in terms of an easement, although that would be reserved for the benefit of all the subdivision, all the owners. I don't know if the town is interested in having a public easement dedicated as part of the right-of-way for that purpose, but if so, it's certainly something I can discuss with Ryan.
The only other question that I had is about the drainage easements on lot 23, 22, 21, and I guess it's 14 and 15. That existing ditch that runs from that little pond back there, is that going to be kept in its natural state?
So if you're referring to at the backs of, is it 14 and 15, I think?
Yes, that's where the pond is.
Yeah. The intention there is to preserve its natural state as much as possible. Obviously, as part of the site work and the other drainage improvements, that's going to be used to sort of balance the inflow and outflow of water required under the guidelines for stormwater drainage, but I'm not aware of any intention to improve or change that aesthetically. My understanding is it would be maintained as much as possible in its natural appearance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Yeah, this is John. I think there's some problems with the setbacks. Down in the bottom center of this plat, there's a note that says side yards are to be 1.5 when 1.10 minimum for a combined 15. But if this is just a straight R1, it should have 10-foot side yards everywhere. And also they have the front building line marked at 25 feet, which it should be 40 feet for the front building line in an R1 subdivision like this.
That last one that you say should be 40 feet, that's a front yard?
Yeah, it's R1, it should have a 40-foot front yard setback line, and there is language in our ordinance that says if topography is extreme, you can make like a floating 25 to 40, but I don't think you have the topography to necessitate a floating building line like that at this site.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, no, I wasn't aware of that, and so I'll need to address that with Ryan as well. Thanks.
John, just for my understanding, so lot 28, 19, and 18, as Ken said, those corner lots require additional square footage on the front edge, I think additional 20. So are you seeking a waiver from that requirement?
Correct.
And then and then the discussion regarding decel lanes in that area as well? So you would have to put in decel lanes or blisters, along with trying to then not add 20 additional feet on the corner.
Yeah. I
Actually,
believe that.
John, lots 18 and 19 already do have 120-foot frontage, which is the 20% more than the 100
I see
required.
95 here.
No, that's because of
So
the
the only one that's really
Oh, I
in
see it.
question would be
Gotcha.
lot 28.
Which one? 28?
Lot
28.
28. It's only about 117. It just needs 3 more feet. You could take that out of the middle lot and make the 120 frontage distance to meet that requirement.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
But then the decel lanes wouldn't affect that.
Well, the
Okay.
decel lane should all be in the right of way.
Right-of-way,
If they can
okay.
fit that in the right of way as is, then, no, we wouldn't need any extra right of way. But if they can't fit it in, yeah, then they'll have to widen the right of way there to,
You showed
To fit
the
the
Excel
green in.
lanes
Oh, did
on
I?
the drawings. Sheet 8 of 35,
Oh, okay.
you show the DXL lanes on your drawings. Yeah, I think you showed it there on that last one, Sergio.
Yes. It is there for both, yeah, lots 18 and 28 both.
So
Thanks.
John, just for my clarification, could you tell us then the 3 waivers that you'll be seeking, just so I can write them down again?
Yes, so, yeah, the 3 feet that would be additionally required for that 120 feet at lot 28.
Okay,
Sorry, getting back out my,
I know one is the stub to a,
yes, the stub for the road and the location of that east-west that would be at the 113th intersection, but for the wetlands, and so that's been moved north.
you wouldn't really have to ask for a waiver for the 120 feet for lot 18 if you just move the east property line 3 feet east.
I'm sorry, you mean for lot 28?
No, for lot, the 18, I think.
It's 28.
Oh,
Ken.
I'm sorry, 28, you're right, 28.
What's the minimum area for R1 square footage?
200 feet, 200 square feet.
Two-
But the
20?
20% larger
20,000.
usually applies to the frontage.
yeah, so he meets all R1. And you're going through the rezone annexation request right now?
I believe the annexation's been completed. That ordinance was adopted by the council,
Okay.
and that comes in, I believe, R1, correct, as a default under the ordinance. Yeah, Ryan and I didn't know to discuss the issue of potentially moving that line. I can't say that he'd commit to moving the line 3 feet. It is a simple solution. I have, at least at this point, I have to say that they'd request a waiver to that.
And then no sidewalk, curb or gutter waivers either, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And then again, with respect to corner lots, assuming 4 and 5 and 14 and 15 at the eastern edges with those radius curves,
It's a non-issue.
we'll get measures. I don't know if they're subject to that additional 20-foot width requirement. Certainly, the lots are much larger than the ones to either side, but to the extent those don't technically meet the additional 20% requirement and they are considered corner lots, that would be the other waiver the developer would request.
I do not see sidewalks running along Parish. I only see them at the intersections where they just cross to the other side.
And Ken, would that be the new requirement for a wider width sidewalk? Would Parish meet that requirement? I believe so.
Yeah, it's, I think well, no, it's only a 40-foot right-of-way according to his plat. You don't need to have the 8-foot sidewalk until it gets to 80-foot right-of-way.
Yeah, and looking at this, I just can't tell.
Ken, I'm sorry, I have a question.
No, no,
It's a
absolutely.
40-foot right-of-way from center line of road, is that correct? So that's an 80-foot total?
Well, that's not what they're showing. They're
It's not?
showing property on the other side, 40 feet away.
Well, that's just something we'll have to confirm to make sure the appropriate size width sidewalks put in.
The dedication of that based on the road classification.
Yeah. According to this, it looks like the lots on the west side go out to the center of the road. Center of Parish.
All right.
Yeah,
Ken,
Yeah.
you'll review and get back with us?
will do.
John, thank you very
All
much.
right,
for your
thank
time.
you.
Any more, before John, I'm sorry, just let me, one more time. Anyone online or anyone here? Any more questions for John? John, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have St. John Commons proposed. Nick, how are you, sir? Good evening. How you doing, sir? Everything doing well?
Good evening.
John, going back to Parish Woods, are they going to come in for a public hearing on May 5th?
Yes, they're on the agenda to be public hearing on May 5th. Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
Any concerns?
No, I just got these plans Monday, so I haven't even had a chance to start looking at them yet.
Okay. Well, does that affect their ability to have a public hearing on May 5th?
No, I don't think so. As long as we don't have any big changes or anything.
Okay.
I'll take a look at it as soon as I can and get comments over to the engineer. He can make whatever changes or revisions he needs to address those comments. And we should be okay by May 5th.
Okay, as long as they met your appropriate deadlines and making sure things get in appropriate time, Ken. So you have ample amount of time to get comments back. Okay. Sorry.
You're fine. Thank
You know, if we lose train of thought, if we don't go right there and that.
Gotta wrap up the agenda to get to the next one.
Yes.
Good evening. I'm Nick Georgiou with Sumac Architects, Griffith, Indiana. Also present here with me as part of our team is the representative of the owner, Brad Lambert from Summerwinds Commercial, Doug Reddick from DBG Team, and also we've added Greg Bauer, attorney, who will hopefully help us get through moving forward on the PUD, and hopefully the project will continue forward. We were here a month ago, and we presented the initial plan concept for what's to be a 20-acre mixed-use development located at 10201 Calumet Avenue, just south of 101st on the east side. You generated some comments and questions at that particular meeting, but I'm going to recap what the development involves. And yeah, that's the good, Sergio got the right plan up there. So the property is 20 acres. It's also subject to multiple easements, and basically between the ComEd, or what is the Chicago commercial utility easement, pipeline easement, AT&T, the south, about 290 feet is actually renders that almost unusable. So how we've chose to do that or deal with that, I'll address as I talk about the various concepts and pieces that we've added to it. The north part of the property, half on the west half is abutted by a C2 zoning. The north half to the east is abutted by R2 zoning. The east side of the property abuts R2. The south side abuts R3. And across Calumet, the west side is C2 zoning and a little R3 as you start going south of our site relative to that. The proposed PUD includes 27,600 square feet of retail, which is 2 buildings, which are shown on the east part of the property. We proposed a concept, which I know from the last meeting, you wanted a little more information on, or at least some concepts of what that might be, and that's a live-work arrangement where there'd be professional offices and offices on the lower level, and we're proposing approximately 13,000 square feet of professional office space with 12 residential units above. Those residential units would actually have their entries and access to the east side of the building that are shown in the plan. And then the detention for the site would be basically to the east of that. It lies in the current drainage plan that exists for the site. And then the part that abuts almost all residential, we're proposing a townhome, 34 townhome upscale units on the east end of the property. Blue Sky Drive on the north and Red Rock Place on the south, both dead end into the property. Where Blue Sky Drive is on the north, that would only grant access to the proposed residential component of the property on the east. Red Rock Place, again, this is where we have the limited area. What we can do, what we're proposing on the south end of the site is actually extend the current bike trail, which is the east side at dead ends into our property, or the location dead ends. We would extend it down into that 100-foot portion of land and extend it all the way west to where Red Rock Place would come in into a cul-de-sac, and we'd propose a trailhead with a gazebo, potential restrooms even, and parking area. In the other exhibit, which we attached, was an 8.5 by 11 one we put together, which we presented last time. It pretty much is the same, except I added an exhibit about where the bike path is currently, or where we would propose it, and where the missing piece is as you go east. The bike path exists in the subdivision to the east of us, and then it's unfinished until you get all the way to White Oak. So that particular document is an 8.5 by 11. It just shows how, this would be quite an improvement and also a amenity to continue, and hopefully if the town continue the last piece, or the developer who owns that piece, we have quite a contiguous piece of bike trail from Calumet all the way east into St. John. I'm going to ask Sergio, if you'd roll it to, actually the live work components, I think was a new concept here in town. So if you look at the design options that we have, Sergio, or pull up the first one. Actually, we're not hard and fast relative to the architectural component or architectural design, but we wanted to give you some options, basically. So what you're looking at here, what's up on the screen, is on the top is actually the live work, but you're only seeing half of it because of literally the size of it. It's pretty, lengthwise. It's actually cut in half. There's 6 units to the east, which is in the upper part of the development, and we're looking at a mix of, and above would only be an individual residential unit, whether it be a 2-story or a single-story unit, but there'd be 6 units on the one half, and then it'd be symmetrical to the other half. The lower part is the retail and compatible architectural design, colors, etc., that we would propose in terms of this potential design scheme. If you switch to the next one, this is just another version architecturally of the same concept. How we would, obviously, bottom line is we can coordinate the architectural treatment, both of the retail and the live work unit, because those are the ones that are both accessed off Calumet, and obviously we'd want that to be a architecturally harmonious pair of buildings there. And then the third one just gives another architectural design for the same component. The intent here was to show what those buildings' scale massing would look like relative to the project, so that you could get a feel for what we're, or at least what we were asked last time to try and explain a little more on the live-work component. The other aspect is that we added into the exhibits was to give you some similar potential projects, or what some of these, they're sort of based upon. So this one that Sergio has up now is this is the Summer Winds Plaza, which the current owner, or the proposed owner, just completed in Cedar Lake, which is the Summer Winds Retail Plaza. The intent is to continue or build upon this design. This was a nice aesthetic, very successful. This thing got off and launched. It's been very successful. It's almost fully leased, but design-wise, components, we're just trying to give you some similar look and feel of what the retail component could be. The next one, we did not get into the design for the townhomes, but we wanted to at least portray what is in town and adjacent to the town. In fact, in this particular area, the top left is Waterford Place in Schererville. The top right is actually, I think it's Mill Creek. I drove through so many of these, I forget which one. On the lower left, those are actually the townhomes in Lake Hills. And then Waterford Place again on the lower right. But that's the general feel. The proposal by the owner is that these are upscale townhomes, at a higher price point. Again, this is just, give you some feel of what, the genre might be from the architectural part. And Sergio, if you go to the aerial of, actually go to the other one, please, the last one. This is the other aspect. Again, the whole goals of the owner is to present an upscale development. We're actually proposing a boulevard entrance to the project off of Calumet Avenue. That's what's portrayed in this particular rendering. This is the view as you'd come off Calumet, turning east into the development. The two retail buildings flank either side of it. There'd be a green transition space that then is perpendicular to that, and there'd either be some signage transition as you then go into the live, work, office component, and that would generate. And then in this particular case, you're looking at one of the architectural schemes that's shown with the full live, work component on the end there. But again, monument signs, landscaping, heavy on the landscaping, some nice features, at least on this portion of the project. You can go to the last one, Sergio. Or I'm sorry, the previous one, sorry. This was just trying to get a feel. We wanted to pick up the green space beyond, the bike path beyond. This is looking above, down. Actually, in the foreground would be the roof of one of the retail buildings. Get you a feel for how the live-work component could be from the scale, how the parking is. And this is where I mentioned there's a green sort of landscape transition piece as you go from the full retail to the live-work component. You can see the retail building off to beyond there on the right, and then all the green space. We actually portrayed the bike path beyond, the gazebo, little parking area relative to that, to pick all that information up back there. In the original proposal, we did initially assume that obviously there, at the entrance to Calumet, there'd be XL, decel lanes, turn lane provided, improvements relative to access to the thing. The other thing which we discussed, and I just want to reemphasize, is that we totally segregated the 100% residential component from the commercial, but we are providing pedestrian access, bike access between all components of the development. We felt that people are coming who live on the east end, you couldn't drive directly into the commercial side, but you could access it by bike or walking, et cetera. And we felt that would be more favorable to the residential side, plus the adjacent residential properties. And from that aspect, I think that would be a plus. Obviously, detention would, where we propose to show it, we would obviously refine that with the engineering and make sure everything works, et cetera. That's sort of an update of what we brought forward and additional information, and we're open to more feedback and questions.
Thanks, Nick. I'll bring it to the board. Questions, comments regarding the plans presented? Sergio has the public safety reviewed this. Nick, I'm looking at this potentially as two different sites. You got the commercial in front, which is one way in, one way out. There's no other access point in the commercial. Benefit, maybe, but you have undeveloped C2 to the north. So connectivity, you sat with me on this board, I'm all about connectivity and trying to disperse traffic. So if more commercial development happens along that corridor, we are then not forcing. People would have to go out to other potential commercial development north of you.
Go ahead.
No. And then I look, now, the second section, the residential, I understand the privacy issue. It would slow traffic. It would be only traffic for that area coming in.
Correct.
I guess a benefit. I'm just public safety. Could that bike trail be used as a potential emergency access out? But then you're putting traffic onto a bike trail for a substantial amount of time. So my initial, your pictures look great. I mean, it's beautiful. I want to move it now. But just connectivity, connection to the north. Hopefully this successful, you're going to potentially, it would be nice to have connectivity to any potential development that would be to the north. I'm just worried about if the police and fire have looked at this, if they have any concerns about emergency
Yes,
access.
we did have a pre-application meeting with the police chief and fire chief, and I think as part of the trail development connectivity, the trail's wide enough, I think at the request of the fire department to hold emergency vehicles to get access into the trail portion of that. And then I think there was also a request to make a connection to the north, the potential development to the north via the commercial area. I think that was also discussed at the last meeting as well.
That is correct. In fact, after we met with fire, police, public safety, public works, we did two improvements. We have 100% circulation around the retail buildings. We did 100% retail or circulation around the live work. We actually expanded the road over in the townhome units to a full 60-foot right-of-way. So circulation relative, we had the discussion with fire truck access. Obviously, DVG, we'd confirm complete access, fire truck circulation. We did add the pieces which run from the commercial towards the bike area, the two north-south pieces. They are proposed to be wide enough for fire or police access to get, if they had, if the entrance to the discussion we had was if there's an accident in the entrance at Calumet, can somebody get in some other way and vice versa. But yes, and relative to your connectivity to the north, we're completely open to putting a drive to the north and connecting to the next commercial piece.
Okay. And then you talked about connectivity from the residential to the commercial. Is it down, you would take it south to the existing bike trail
Well,
proposed
I-
and then bring it north? Or are you talking about something maybe?
I would actually shorten the route. Like I said, we actually concentrated on more of the architectural components, so you understood what concept we're trying to sell or pitch here. The intent would be, we definitely would connect bike/walking either on the north or south edge of the detention pond, which actually would make a loop around the detention pond for walking or whatever, but it would connect you then to the live, work, and the retail component too.
And then I know these are sketches, but is there a buffer between, is this a proposed, I think we have a proposed for PUD, a 15-foot buffer, landscape buffer between any existing development? So between any of the R2, I think our PUD ordinance requires an additional 15% buffer from those existing residential.
That one, we did it by, it's not in the
I
level
know
of
that-
whether it's a berm, but no, the intent was we would screen around the residential part that abuts the residential part to the east. And, no, definitely we would provide, if it's, whether it's a landscape berm or whatever the criteria is, we'd review that and see what we can provide for that.
Okay. And then, everything looks great. I would like to see it a little tightened up, like with a floor, you provided 4 different type of townhome examples, and some I might like better than others, but, I mean, I would not ask you to ask me for my opinion, because, I have a hard time matching my socks with my pants, but I think we need, for this committee, tightened up what your architectural standards are gonna be, what you are proposing to us, rather than, and then we could go from that point, what you're comfortable with, and seeing if we're comfortable with. And then the size of the townhomes, and what type of, so, I mean, right now you show 4 different ones, maybe get it down to the 2 you think is, and then, I mean, unless the board has other ideas, but, I mean, you presented us with multiple options. I just, as we progress through this idea, I just think we need to tighten up exactly what you're looking for, and then from that point, see how, which one floats to the top, I guess.
I have.
And if anyone has a different approach, throw it out there.
Hi, this is Donna. So I brought this up at the last meeting that I don't like the work-live option, and also I thought that the zoning should remain R2 for the residential side and not R3. I don't know how everyone else feels about that, but that's my feeling on it, that I think it should remain consistent with the subdivision that is to the north. And would the work-live component require a separate zoning? You can't put residential and commercial, right?
Well, it would be a PUD, so that
That's correct.
PUD would then
Well, I guess
allow,
I'm not in favor of the PUD then.
I'm sorry?
I said I'm not in favor of that PUD then.
Okay,
And I may be the only one that feels that way, but I just don't think that fits that area of town.
Donna, your opinion matters, and I appreciate you sharing it with the board, so.
We discussed last time, if I did the equivalent, if this was all 100% residential at 20 acres, you would, at R1, you'd generate maybe 35 units. Again, just as an equivalent equation. In this particular case, between the residential units above the office plus the townhomes, there's basically 46 residential total units on this 20 acres. Again, because of the difficulty of the loss of the easements, et cetera, we're trying to also, work, so for something that works for everybody. Obviously, it sounds like what I'm hearing is on the townhomes, and maybe Brad, if he wants to comment, we're looking at townhomes that are 350,000 and up. So we're not talking basic items here.
Understand, but just for us, as we continue to digest this plan, it'd be nice to know the square footage of them. What's their exterior
Understood.
made out of? How many garages? Just so that we can get a feel, and, I can't speak for the board, but we're gonna be ultra sensitive to those existing residents around the north and east side of this development. Nick, you'll know that quite well. So we just want to make sure that the value of these are, that everyone feels comfortable with.
I would ask you to take a look, although we submitted before, the benefits we provided here. I know Brad put together, although, the construction value of this project would probably get exceed $20 million, if I had to put a number to it. I mean, between all the components relative to that. So we're looking at a sizable investment, which we think would be a plus and amenity to the town. Obviously, we're concerned about, or we hear your concerns about the residential. We can look at the buffering, the landscaping, and even the size of the units, potentially, obviously, a discussion even about density if we want to have that discussion.
I don't want to hog the discussion. Does anyone, Donna, I appreciate what you said. Anybody else from the board have comments so Nick can take it back and digest it?
Yeah, Nick, I'd like to, for the live work areas, maybe have another style of facial of the building besides, I think you'd shown looked like a stucco. If you, another component of maybe brick and limestone or, some other architectural.
We're totally open to working with, well, if you look, let me see.
Just, I guess what I'm saying is a little more pizzazz. If you're gonna have living quarters, above retail,
Well,
I
actually,
would like to see more pizzazz
well,
on that.
Scheme C on that actually was more a traditional look, masonry, actually, whether it be stone base, ephes base, masonry above, typical roof, et cetera, a little more traditional looking, but we're more than happy to maybe give you some snippets of some ideas of how sort of enlarged blow-up of some of those areas or what you might want to see.
Do you have any idea of sizes of those units above the commercial? Do you have a square footage or proposed layouts you could share with us as well?
They're approximately, well, the townhomes were 28-foot wide units. Those were looking at 1,800 to 2,400 square feet at least, in that range. The live-work units were the single story at that 28 by the footprint, I think, would generate about a 1,400 square foot unit.
Okay.
And then the two-story would take you up to, if I double it, it could be up to 2,400, 2,500.
And those are owner occupied, correct?
Yeah, well,
Okay. Or will that be in any restrictions that you put on the development?
I'd have to ask Brad for his input on that
Okay.
in terms of what we were looking at. The intent, again, was, although we didn't render the backside, but, we're looking at, the backside, you're gonna have a two-car garage, you're gonna have a separate entrance then you gotta go up to the, to your unit, et cetera. And we did discuss the potential, again, the live-work concept is somebody literally could live right above the office that they rent or own. Right now, it's assumed it's rented, but I don't know if we've had a discussion if it's gonna be an office condo, but nonetheless, and theoretically, the way it's laid out, you could literally connect them. So if somebody lived above it, they could come down and literally have their office there. And then that office fronts to the west, to the commercial side.
And all the drainage from the commercial and the residential would,
To the single
to
detention
single
pond.
detention, okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, I got another question. Sergio, so this front west half would be PUD. That's what you're going for?
Well, we'd have to do the overall as a PUD because they really don't fall into exact, well, I'd have to clarify that. I mean, I don't know if we would, I'm open to your comments.
No, it'll all be PUD.
Oh.
Yeah, I've looked at your ordinance. Good evening, Greg Bauer.
How are you, sir?
I've looked at your ordinance, and yours is a typical PUD. It's designed for this. A lot of people use PUDs to modify standards, to do some roadway things and this, that, and the other. This is really what the planned unit development was designed for, combining uses like this, similar to what Munster is doing right now. Munster has a phenomenal project going up. Centennial. I don't know if you've seen that with the live work.
Right.
They're going into that next
East side of
phase.
Calumet Avenue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the live work. They're gorgeous buildings. Similar to the type of buildings he's doing right, Nick has provided you. And I'm sure that might be an option. But your ordinance, and I think Mr. Decker would agree with me, is designed for this, to combine these uses into a PUD. We could work with the underlying zoning on either side of it, but when you look at the surrounding zoning, and I've listed all the comments, I really think this is a unique opportunity. It kind of blends everything. Certainly, there's R2 to the east, recognize that. But right above us to the north is C2. That's going to be commercial right there, right up against the R2. And that's commercial, so we're kind of taking a blend here as we go south. We're doing some commercial up front, but yet residential in the back to do the buffering, and it's R3 to the south right there. I think it's a great transition. It gives you something new to do in St. John, just similar to Centennial Park in Munster. We've talked to the people involved in that for all sorts of reasons, but the units are selling. They have pre-sales right now going up. People want to do this. It's neat that the bike path is going to be right there to the south, so it's a great blending of all these uses right there, certainly in our opinion, and we hope to convince the town of St. John like that. But I think your ordinance, long answer for your question, the PUD ordinance is designed for this.
Sergio, I got a question for you. If this does go PUD, will there be a signed agreement, what they say they're gonna put in, they put in?
It's
and
part
not-
of the
and not,
PUD. There's part
you know,
of,
down the road, no, we can't do that, we're gonna put,
it's part of the PUD. There's design standards and performance standards that are incorporated as part of the PUD, setting those guidelines up as well as any covenants that may come to play with some of these different units with regards to the live workspace as well as the townhomes. So it's essentially a new zone classification with details, the details that go into your traditional type of zoning, just spelled out as part
so
of the
when they
PUD.
commit to it,
Yes.
it's final, they can't change it. and-
It'll be an ordinance, and it's
That's it.
It's the town's policy, yes, town's legislation on that.
We agree 100% with Sergio, and I'm sure with Mr. Decker. The plan unit development is how you can tie our hands to our commitments. In fact, I just got off the phone on a Zoom meeting at another hearing where that's the exact thing. We're dealing with the PUD and we're redoing the PUD, but the town can tie our hands. It is all in the PUD document. We're very specific. In fact, when you give us feedback on what you want, we're certainly going to listen and try to incorporate all that, and that'll go in the PUD document. Elevations. I know we can come up with more specific ones. Certainly with declarations. This one's going to require a declaration. It's going to be shared detention. We're going to have a declaration for this between the commercial and residential, and we can address all the long-term issues the town raises that you don't want to be responsible for. We'll handle that in a declaration that binds the two together but keeps them separate and takes care of all of them, because quite frankly, the declaration from our standpoint not only protects the town, but it protects the people who invest in this too. It's our selling point. Here, you're going to be subject to this declaration. There's a PUD underlying it, but not everyone goes out and gets the recorded PUD, but they're going to get a declaration from us when they sign a sales contract. Full disclosure, some of them are going to be condos. The ones up above have to be condos. So there'll be a condo association, and there'll be a residential association and a commercial association. And we'll blend that together to provide an efficient means to keep it all up, first-class condition for the town and certainly for us, as we saw. But, yeah, you can tie our hands with the PUD.
Just to add to that, the project which the owner just completed, which I've referenced, which is Summer Winds, that was a PUD, and the approval process tied down the architectural design, the parking, the exact amount of tenants. I mean, literally, it identified you have 11 tenants, 12 tenants, whatever it was. The landscaping, the lighting, every item was negotiated, and that's what we had to follow once it was implemented. So as Greg said, yeah, that's your opportunity to tie our hands, literally is negotiate what you want in the PUD and what are the criteria. And once they're incorporated in the ordinance and the PUD, that's what we have to deliver. You heard earlier when Jack was up here, with Greystone, just changing some lots, you have to amend the PUD. It's the only way we could change that in the future if we had this approved as a PUD.
Yeah.
We'd have to come back.
Same like along the bike path, if this got approved, I'd want specific number of trees, You show up quite a few, I don't want to be surprised, when this is completed, oh, there's 5. Well, they showed 30, but now there's only 5 out there. I'd want to,
We had a
want a
detailed
number.
landscape plan with the last PUD we did, and it was tied into the approval. Absolutely. No, understood.
Yeah, we just need to start getting into your standards, what your setbacks, what your square footage, what your architectural standards, what your road standards are. We need to start just digesting that. And again, just for the board's understanding, we make a recommendation to this PUD. It is in the town council's hand to actually approve it. So it is our responsibility to, as they say, tie their hands to the best of our ability to work with the developer. But then, again, we just make a recommendation that then goes finally to the board, and our recommendation can be favorable, unfavorable, or no recommendation. And the town council has every authority to go with our recommendation or go against our recommendation. It is their authority in the end. So we just have to do what we think is best for the town and go from there. So,
I have one
Question-
more comment.
Go ahead.
yes,
I would
Donna.
just like to remind, hello, sorry. I would
Yep.
just like to remind my fellow board members that when Schilling brought up their, it was in Greystone last year, and they initially wanted to do R3 with cottage homes and duplexes, and it took a long time, but we ended up rejecting that initial plan, and we ended up with a really wonderful R2 high-quality subdivision. And I just think we need to be consistent and not be inconsistent.
Appreciate those comments, Donna.
My question was, and maybe Greg can even jump in, because procedurally, assume we just continue to move forward, which we expect to, but is the rezoning to PUD the first step and then the actual PUD development secondary?
No, we need to put all that, I think, in a full document for our consideration, and then we would use that document for our recommendation. And then the council would take it from there. That would be my understanding. But
I think you're right, and most town attorneys require that from us, that we put in all of our applications at once, and you walk it through. And I don't know if you have do in terms, and I could have talked to you about this today when I touched base with you, in terms of a booklet, whether you require a booklet. I'm preparing a booklet in a town close to here right now that has all of that, the rezoning, the plat, how we're gonna plat this out, and it packages it all up in one, so we file all the petitions at once, and then you walk it through all in one shot, so that when you're done with the process and make the recommendation, the town council acts. And in the past, I've had a contingent approval of the plat at the time of the rezoning, and the plat only goes into effect, obviously, if the rezoning is completed, but that's my understanding.
Right. And Mr. Chairman, the zoning ordinance and specifically the provisions regarding planned unit development specifically provide that the owner and developer will submit the PUD development plan to the Plan Commission for its review, along with the application for the change in the zone class. So the PUD development plan is basically where we'll find all of those provisions that you've alluded to, with regard to setbacks, landscaping plan, that's specifically addressed as part of the PUD ordinance. So all of those would be submitted to the Plan Commission for its review. And then you're right, Mr. Chairman, eventually the Plan Commission would consider it and then make a vote to recommend or take other action to the town council, who ultimately would approve the change in the zoning.
thank you. Any other comment from the board? Donna, Bob, thank you. Anyone else? Jason, Yolanda, Nancy? If not, Nick, we will see you at the next study session, I would imagine, and
Yes, we.
a little bit more details
we
for
will
us to
continue to-
digest and
We will
stuff like
continue to
that.
move the process forward.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have the Gates of St. John, Unit 13A, Lot 431, proposed rear yard easement reduction at 9970 White Jasmine Drive.
Hello, I'm Andrew Larney. I am just trying to put a pool in my backyard, and half of my backyard is marked as 30-foot utility easement. It's on the west side in that picture. But I had all the utilities come out and mark everything, and nothing is past like 8 feet of the rear of the property.
So currently, the easement in your rear yard is 30 feet.
Correct.
You received a letter from NIPSCO saying for a partial release of 15 feet.
Yep.
So now Ken, do we know if we have, the town of St. John has any easement rights in that area? Or any
Yeah,
concern regarding
right.
drainage or,
Yeah, frankly, John, I was surprised to see this on the agenda because I thought this was taken care of by Rick Everly months ago. Bob Davis and I and Rick Everly visited this site, and we observed that the only thing in the easement was a storm sewer and some NIPSCO stuff. And all of them were within 15 feet of the property line. So reducing it from a 30-foot to a 15-foot would be fine. And like I said, I thought this was all taken care of long ago. As you can see, the NIPSCO letters dated October 13th, 2020.
Ken,
So
there
I
was,
thought that's when it was taken care of. So I was kind of surprised to see it on the agenda tonight.
Ken, when you made the visit, was locates performed?
Yes.
Okay.
so Ken, as a town engineer, you see no concerns with granting this easement
No,
reduction?
I do not. I think it would have been kind of better if we could have gotten all the lots, north and south of him on that one line where the 30-foot is, but just doing it across their yard will work fine.
Any concern with the letter being 6 months old?
No, there have been no changes out there since then.
Okay. So this would be a decision by the plan commission. I think this is my first partial
Yeah,
easement.
mine too.
So this would be a favorable or approved and, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, this is not a recommendation.
This is- okay.
action by the plan commission to approve or disapprove. Essentially, it's essentially revising the plat.
Yeah, this is first time with an easement for me, so, okay. All right. Any questions, comments?
Nope.
All right, we will see you May 5th. May 5th.
Perfect, thank you.
Surprised this even came to us. You know?
This is my, Sergio, is this similar to what was discussed at the BZA?
Mhm.
Gotcha.
The difference between that is the setback yards.
That's a set, but isn't there an easement issue?
There,
Well, we'll
and that's why they would be coming to the plan commission for that, for the
Gotcha.
easement issue.
All right. Castle Rock, that's in my neighborhood. Doug, how are you, sir?
Doing well, thank you. I'm gonna hand this out. I emailed it to Sergio, I think he has it too.
Thank you, sir.
Should be relatively straightforward.
Yeah.
Thank you. Doug, usually I would give you an opportunity. Can I just ask, I live right down the road from there. Is that the lot that's being built already? Is that the foundation that's in?
No, this is not under construction.
There's a lot under construction. Is that 58 then? Is that the one to the, that would be to the east?
I think, we do so many of these. I'm not sure if it's 56 or 58. But
56 just has a foundation. It's about to get backfilled.
Oh, wait. John just answered it. It's 56.
that's what I thought.
So so this one is just to the south of that, or to the east?
east.
To the east. Gotcha. Thank you. Okay.
So
I just didn't know if we're looking at this and the foundation's already, okay. Sorry for,
so this came to our office to do a preliminary site plan to see how this particular house would fit on this particular lot. It's a little unusual lot shape. The owners, the proposed owners of this house are here tonight as well. So if you have any specific questions for them.
hey neighbor.
What's that?
Said, hey neighbor.
Right. And I also included, on the back page is the copy of a part of the plat for Castle Rock Phase 2. So basically, this is just one of the lots on the cul-de-sac. It's a large cul-de-sac. It's got a landscape island in the middle of it. So it really is a cul-de-sac. But because of the shape of it, it's a little bit unusual lot. So the question that's really we're presenting tonight is what's side yard and what's rear yard on this unusual shaped lot. Option A kind of calls, the house faces to the south to Fortress Court there. So if that's the front, there's a rear yard behind it. And what happens between 56 and 57? Is it side yard, or option B kind of shows it as all rear yard along the line between 56 and 57? We talked, there's discussion in my office. I contacted Sergio. I said, before our surveyor prepares the plat and signs off on it, we don't want problems later. We want to know up front that this house, we need a variance, we don't need a variance, the house fits, the house doesn't fit. It's a large lot, but it's also a pretty deep house. So I kind of look at it as, it's a cul-de-sac. Look at the plat. Every lot line between 58 and 59, 58 and 57, they're all side yards. 56 and 57 could be construed as a side yard, and that goes all the way around the cul-de-sac. But if you just look at the site plan, we didn't want anybody to say, hey, it's 40-foot of rear yard. And that's why I presented the two different options there. And we just need some clarification from the town as to how you will perceive that and give us a direction on how to prepare our plan, or possibly have to seek a variance if you feel that's appropriate. Did I make myself clear, even though it's a little fuzzy?
Lot 57, Doug,
Sure.
on this drawing here, your plat.
Yep.
It doesn't even show a building line, 40-foot building line between 56 and 57, does it?
Right, so we show the front building lines on our plats. The side building line and rear building lines are per ordinance. So in this case, on R2, the side building line is 8 feet. So that's what you would always see between all the lots on this cul-de-sac. You see 8 feet of side yard on each side.
Yeah.
But we also have to have a 40-foot rear yard. And that's where, how would you interpret that 40-foot rear yard? Kind of like I show in option A, or kind of like I show in option B. That's really what the determination is. Because where's the front, where's the rear, where's the side?
Wait, what's that? I'm sorry.
I'd say option A.
Repeat the options. I'm sorry. I was looking at the map.
I would say option A. That's how I'd interpret it.
What is that? Oh, I see what you're saying.
They've adjusted the footprint of the house so it does fit. If we go with option A, the depth of the house clears that 40-foot rear line as shown, clears the front building line as shown. The patio slightly encroaches, but that's allowable because it's not part of the structure. The covered porch would be within that limit. And this is the house that they desire to build. And then because it's got a large garage, it's kind of a deep house, and that's really, a lot of other houses would fit, and we wouldn't probably be having this conversation, but we didn't want to present a plan and then find out, hey, we would want to find out too late anyway. So John,
How
if you
did
could
you
get,
get, I'm looking at option B and option A, and the house looks almost identical, but
it's the same house.
oh, you're
Look-
moving I
Look,
see.
look at the 8-foot side yard versus
I
the
get it.
40-foot rear yard.
It's stuff's going right
That's what it's
above
all
my head.
about.
I gotcha.
But on the plat, it doesn't show, like I said, it doesn't show that 40-foot, you didn't draw it like that.
Right.
So why are you drawing it now?
Well, when we do a site plan, we have to show the side yards and the rear yard setbacks.
Okay.
We don't typically put them on the final plat. It gets kind of cluttered, and
Okay.
it's per ordinance. We have to do it.
Okay.
No, I see what you're saying.
But when we do the site
Sorry, I
plans,
wasn't-
we show them, and we need to know, we want to know sooner than later, when they go to get a building permit, we don't want to get a surprise. If we got to get a variance, we want to do it now.
Sergio or John, would you consider option A the viable option? John?
Yeah, I think my gut is, since you have like 5 sides on this lot versus a true 4, I would say you would consider that line common to 56 a side yard, and then their rear yard that you need the 40-foot setback would be that little stub where it says N77 2130 E 59.06. That would be, the rear yard, even though it's not, a traditional square lot where you have a front, a rear, and 2 sides. It's kind of got that angled one common to 56 is kind of, we just wanted to make sure nobody was thinking it was a rear yard on both of those, and I didn't interpret it as that, but, I just wanted some more backup on that call.
Have you run into this elsewhere, or is that how you approached it?
Yeah, we've done, there's other trickier lot lines, and usually it's more defined, where if it's on the side of the house or the rear of the house, but this is, Crossing Creek had some kind of tricky lot lines like that too, where they came and all intersected at weird little segments.
And Sergio, do you know the process, or Adam, what the proper process is? Does it have to go through a public hearing?
No, I think what we're looking for is a determination, because when the subdivision came in, it was presented with certain building footprints that would fit, and the Plan Commission at the time of approval acknowledged that. And just as this evening through the discussion, it was determined that it is a peculiar shaped lot with a larger size home, or peculiar shaped home with a garage depth. And so because it was called into question, what is the best interpretation, we felt that since the Plan Commission initially approved it under one understanding, or the initial understanding of how the building footprint would fit, we felt it'd be best to bring it back for the final interpretation, and then that would give the property owner the ability to know what their next steps are, whether to seek for variance, or if it would meet the standards that the commission kind of understood at the initial approval. I think as part of this discussion, based on the lot sizes that are typically approved, you initially have about a 4,000 square foot rear yard use of space. That's kind of the intention based on the lot sizes, and so that's what they presented between option B and option A. Option A shows that it's relatively close, but again, it's a peculiar shaped lot in that sense, with an odd shaped home that's not your typical size home. So I think what we're looking for is just to get something on the record with a consensus or understanding as Doug moves forward with their client.
Okay. Any other questions, comments from the board? All right. So then they'll come in at May for approval for rear yard? Or,
No,
no, they'll just,
yeah, I think ideally we'd like to get a consensus.
okay.
I
Yeah,
mean-
I mean, I'm going off what John has said, and
Well, is the board able to make a decision at, are you aware of, will they be able to make a decision on study session, or do they need to be at a regular meeting?
Well, normally, there aren't decisions made at study sessions. I think that's been kind of past
Okay.
practice. So if there was going to be a vote based on the interpretation, as discussed tonight, I think that would be done at the regular.
Make a regular meeting, okay, so we can add them on the May 5th agenda for a vote, a decision.
I don't think it requires a public hearing.
No, I
I
don't
don't
think so
think there's
either.
any notice requirements for that.
Your proposed patio shows you're in the option A. Will that stay there?
Yes.
Okay.
The patio is allowed to encroach in the rear yard. That's not, it's,
Oh, okay.
the covered
I
porch
saw a
will,
covered porch. Okay.
the covered porch will be within, outside of the building line, but the patio doesn't matter.
Okay.
Well,
All right,
thank you.
we'll have it on the agenda. We'll have it on the agenda for May 5th.
Very good, thank you.
All right. All right, item G, Astoria, proposed subdivision, 101 single-family homes, zoned on 1,122 Parish Avenue.
Thank you.
Are you Michael?
Yes, sir.
Michael, how are you, sir?
Good, how are you?
Good. Sorry about being an idiot there.
What's that?
Like option A. I'm like, what are you talking about? What's option A? I wasn't even, I didn't see the little thing out there go, what are you talking about? What's option A?
No, better to ask, right?
Then he kept on going, option A. Dude, which one's option? Come on. Oh, we cut down a tree today.
Hello, my name is Michael Herbers with Diamond Peak Homes out of Crown Point, Indiana. We are proposing the attached development in St. John called Astoria. This development will contain 101 lots. We are going in, proposing an R2 PUD to obtain a minimum of 70-foot wide lots by 150-foot deep lots. Diamond Peak Homes, again, we are a local home builder in the area, a fairly new company within the last 6 years. We have grown year after year pretty consistently. St. John, we do currently build in Morning Crest. We are looking to expand more in St. John due to the desirability in the area. This piece, of course, does provide some difficulties due to the pipeline easement and overhead power line easement. All in all, we will be developing on roughly 70 acres. Originally on the agenda, it says 64, but after talking to the landowners, they are willing to work with us so we can get an additional stub on the north part of the road out to Parish. So with that being said, you know, there's about 23 acres, give or take, of unusable land that we cannot build on, thus making it difficult to meet, you know, the R1 ordinances. Of course, right now it's zoned open space, so we know we will have to go through the proper zoning with that as well.
Michael, I
All
don't
in
mean to
all,
interrupt. Have you started that process?
no, sir, not yet.
Okay.
All in all, with, you know, the 101 lots on that piece of land, you know, it does put the density to roughly 1.3 homes per acre. You know, the R2 ordinance, you're looking at about 1.6 homes per acre, so we are actually less than the R2 zoning. And of course, to the north, there's a development zoned R2. To the south, it is a mix of R2 that blends into an R3 portion, and then to the east, there's another R2 development as well. With our homes, you know, we do plan on providing a lot of architectural appeal. All the homes will be single family. They will contain all LP Smart Side, stone wainscoting on the front. Along, you know, corner lots will have stone on the side. Each home will be required, well, at final closing, each home will have a full irrigation system. A minimum, landscape package will be required just to bring, the green space and complete the project itself. We are anticipating homes to start in the mid 400 range. Of course, after options and upgrades, these homes will peak the $500,000 mark, especially given the current situation with the building world. Again, there will be ample green space in this area. We will have a park that will be maintained by the HOA, along with all the green space will be on the HOA's responsibility to keep the town out of having to worry about maintaining all of that. There will be a bike path that will run from east to west or west to east, whichever way you want to look at it, to connect hopefully future, bike paths in that area. And then one other point that I did forget to mention, of course, there will be a boulevard entrance on this neighborhood with the proposed sidewalk along Parish, even though it's not shown on the rendering. Again, we will have, each lot will contain a stone mailbox. We will have lampposts in each yard. Of course, this will all be in the proposed covenants for the development. No privacy fences, wrought iron, aluminum fences only, in-ground pools. Again, each home will be required to have at least one architectural detail in regards to, gable trusses, corbels, extended soffits, et cetera, LP wrapped windows. And again, each elevation will be required to have at least one window, so there aren't any blank elevations on these homes. Again, we feel, given the restraints of the property with the easements, our layout is a pretty admirable one, if you will. But we would like to hear the commissioner's feedback and comments and questions.
I'm going to add just a couple things. Mike did a great job. This is, the same thing we went through with Three Springs. We got the triple pipeline going through the property, and then the high tension tower line, which also has a fiber optic line in it. So those take up a lot of room. The easements are large; they take up a lot of room. And in this case, on this plan, those easements take up about 22 acres out of the 70 acres. So it's a significant amount of land. We've also accommodated the 50-foot pipeline impact zone, which is obviously recently adopted last year. So we tried to work with that, and we've done that. We've made all the lots that back up to the pipeline, they're extra deep. So the 50-foot pipeline easement impact zone is within the 200-foot depth of the lots. We understand that there's a rear yard setback off of that, so we followed your ordinance regarding the impact zone, and it is shown on the drawing, and it really only affects the lots on the south side of the pipeline easement, but those are, basically we made them all 50-foot deeper to accommodate the impact zone. So we have 150-foot still of usable lot, just like every other lot in the subdivision. Talking about density a little bit, so we have about a 70-acre project. I did some calculations recently for everybody's benefit. I looked at 2 R1 subdivisions in the town of St. John, straight R1. One is Summerlin, and maybe I only looked at one of those. I don't know if I could find another R1 subdivision. But R1, Summerlin is a R1. Its density is 1.3 lots per acre. I found 2 all straight R2 subdivisions. Morning Crest is one, and the north part of Walden Clearing. And those R2 projects are coming in right around 1.6 lots per acre. And this density, we're right in between. We're 1.4. So we're close to the R1. We actually exceed the R2. If you were to look at this as a big rectangle and we drew it all out as R2 or R1, you'd be getting, right in the same range as what we have here with 90. We have 101 lots shown here. We feel there would be about 91 R1 lots and 112 R2 lots, depending how you draw it out. So we're looking for a little bit of flexibility here. And we need that flexibility to get to these 70-foot lots. And the only way to accomplish this is with a PUD, the talk of the night, right? That's what we will be presenting, will be a R2 PUD. Mike said it's already zoned open land. No matter what, it has to be rezoned. So that's our intention, to get some feedback on the 70-foot wide lots. The density is very close to what it would be if it was an R1 or R2 project, but we have to go PUD in order to accomplish the smaller lots. It's not allowable in any of your zoning classifications.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
So you got 70 acres total. That's including the pipelines,
Correct.
the overhead
Correct.
lines.
And so 22 acres of that is unusable.
Unusable, okay.
And that includes the impact, the
Yeah.
pipeline impact, okay.
That's in the 70 acres.
Okay.
Right.
But no, the unusable, the 22 acres.
No. No, the 22 acres is just those easements,
Okay.
Just those.
not the impact zone.
Anyone questions for Michael or for Doug?
What's the 4.76 acres carved out of the,
That's the farmstead.
oh, the one that's there still right now?
They're gonna
right
stay
now?
there.
Okay.
Right. So they're on about a 10-acre parcel, but they've agreed to sell the north part of it. So it's about 75 acres total, but the farmstead's keeping that 4.76. The homestead, I should say. So not included, basically.
Do you have dimensions on the sizes of the, I would imagine you're gonna have single story, 2 stories, 1.5. Do you have square footages on what you're proposing in this development?
So we have roughly 13 plans, give or take. You know, we are constantly adding to them. We are anticipating this development to average right in the 2,400 to 2,500 square foot range, given the area. You know, we do have ranches in the 2,000 square foot range, and of course, you know, 2 stories that are, you know, that will peak the 3,000 square foot range.
Mike,
So you meet all our minimum requirements of our
oh,
current?
yeah.
Okay, I know not for maybe the lot size, but actually for the residential size.
And if you want to, it's fair to say you're going to be building the same houses you're building in Morning Crest.
Correct. Yep, similar homes as in Morning
So you
Crest.
can actually drive through Morning Crest and see their product. And you'll see Morning Crest, those were 100-foot R2 lots, or 100-foot wide lots. There's a lot of side yard there, a lot more than is really necessary for these particular homes.
So the side yard setbacks are all gonna be the same?
Well, it'll be 8-foot side yard setbacks, just like always. But if you look at, you know, the 100-foot lot, they're putting the same house on a 100-foot lot, and the side yards are huge.
Right.
And people, they don't care, they don't want to maintain it.
So Mike, you heard what we went through with the other PUDs. We're going to start needing to see your standards, so road standards, lot sizes, setbacks, your proposed residential. I would like to see all your different sizes of residential. Speaking for myself, I'm not as sensitive to the lot size, because just because you have a big lot doesn't mean you have a big home. I'm in an R1, but I probably have the smallest house on the lot. I am more sensitive to the residential side because I do think square footage has an adverse effect. The smaller the house, the less the assessed value.
Right. Yep.
That's, so, a little bit more sensitive to that. But again, I'm just one, so, like to see all that information, landscaping, Bob brought up, lighting, you know, what those requirements are. I'm getting a lot smarter on these PUDs as we're going through those. I did, if I'm, Sergio, if I am correct, because there's existing subdivisions to the, which would only affect the road to the north, I think there's an existing subdivision going in there to the north.
There is.
I think our ordinance does say in a PUD, there has to be a 15-foot buffer for any PUD coming in.
Yes.
So you would have to propose, in addition to the lot, an additional 15-foot buffer that requires the size of trees, how many trees, and stuff like that. I'm sensitive to existing homeowners and how this perceived affects their assessed value. So that 15-foot buffer, if I read these ordinance right, would be a nice addition to, you know, I think.
And it
to-
cannot be on the lot? Is that how you're interpreting it? It can't be a landscape easement on the lot?
It says residential buffer. It's chapter 13, I.1, a 15-foot landscape and maintained front yard area. Oh, wait. Residential buffer. Space 50 feet on center shall be provided next to an existing residential or platted residential subdivision. And it does say unless otherwise determined by the town manager. Who currently, we don't have a town manager. So, I think any buffer, it talks about you have to have 2 1/2 inch diameters, space at least 50 feet on center, trees.
Okay.
So,
I mean, on the south side, we have the huge green belt bike path, so we have
so
a
you
huge.
you meet that 15. I don't know what, if they would consider, and again, that's how I'm interpreting it. I'll like to Sergio and others to confirm that, but I don't know if the detention pond would qualify to your east, because that doesn't have trees. So that's just,
But it's still a large buffer, if you will, so I get it.
I could be interpreting that incorrectly, because it does say front yard area, but it says adjacent to any existing residential or platted residential subdivisions. So I don't know how a rear yard could be front yard, so that just needs to be open to interpretation.
Okay.
Most of your lots are 70-foot wide?
I think they
All of them,
virtually
I
all
think.
are.
All of them?
Yeah, we're pretty consistent with that.
Because you know we beat up Jack pretty hard. Donna mentioned it earlier, and she's absolutely correct. We beat up Jack pretty hard because he proposed 70 and not, and I understand every petition is unique in its own self, so just,
Yeah, me personally, I'm sensitive to the 70-foot wide lots, especially when the house is this big and the lot is just a little bit bigger. It just, to me, it's just kind of shocking when you drive into that subdivision. It's all, you'd barely have to reach out your window and you can touch your neighbor.
I do want to point out the street to the south, West 103rd Street, that's, starts at 80-foot lots, and then the rest of it is 60-foot lots.
Yeah, well, that, I wasn't on the board when that was
I understand,
approved.
and that's why we're looking for a transition.
Yeah.
and are you proposing to put in the trail
Yes.
in that little park?
Yes, sir.
All right,
Where's the little park?
just, I don't know, Douglas Drive? You see the little brown spot?
Oh, okay.
Okay. Ken, do you have any concern on the main roadway that it's just, I know how my kids drive, I would be concerned with neighbors in that neighborhood. It just looks like a long straight shot. I understand you got easement lines and stuff like that, but sometimes a PUD is supposed to be creative in its approach. It just looks like we got a long drive that is conducive to heavier speeds, so.
Yeah.
But
you might
I mean, the
wanna
only other thing
incorporate
is you
some
reduce the
traffic
size of the
calming,
road.
Measures.
I mean, a PUD allows them different standards, but again, then it's a public safety issue with fire trucks and people parked on the road, so can get myself in trouble there. So I didn't know if there's a creative way to, I don't know. You guys are the
Something
experts
to
on that.
consider.
Just,
Yeah.
No, that jumped out at me too.
Just
that,
looks
that
like
long stretch, and
it's-
I don't know if they can do anything about it, but yeah, it looks like a drag strip.
there was another subdivision where I saw that and I'm like,
And I'm
can
not
we break
bashing
it?
it,
We
I
can-
just-
I mean, we understand you got, you
There's
got.
a
you
got the
got
pipe
pipeline,
here,
yeah.
You got a pipeline and you're trying to maximize the available land you have, so I get it, but appreciate the connectivity. Connecting parts.
I knew you'd like that, John.
I do, I appreciate that, so. But, I mean, I don't know how the rest of the board feels, if they have any comments, but I know, so, those are my 2 cents. And then you'll give us all the road standards, lighting, what the landscaping is there gonna be a covenant
Yes, sir.
to this?
Yep.
It's gonna be owner occupied, self-maintained, there's no.
Yes, sir.
Okay, oh, please don't call me sir, I'm not that, call me John. Yeah, so we can get a feel, we were getting smarter at this, we know what to ask for, we know what, the value is important to us. So we wanna make sure if this is adopted by this commission, that, we're providing the community the best value for this site, so.
The only thing we're really looking for concessions on is the lot width and probably some of the side yards setbacks. That's it. We're gonna build public streets, 60-foot right-of-ways. We're not
Curb,
looking for.
sidewalk.
Oh, yeah, curb, sidewalk along Parish. We're not looking for anything on that. It's really just the lot size and the side yard setbacks.
And if you do propose standards for the architectural, I've seen, I don't like it where it says, well, 25% of brick and stone unless architectural review. I like to set a limit, and that limit stays no matter who's making the review of the architectural standards, because it really takes it out of our control. Right. You know, if we're supposed to, I like that term, we're not trying to tie your hands, we're just trying to create value. But if the architectural standard says 25% brick or 25% stone, no exceptions. No exceptions. That's what it is, so.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because then it takes what we try to put together out of our hands, so. Any other questions, comments? Yolanda, Donna, John, Nancy, Ken?
We're here. We're listening intensely here. This is Yolanda. I just wanted to make sure that I know that recently there was an ordinance that was enacted related to the pipeline issue. So I wanted to make sure, and I think it was addressed in the presentation, that this proposed development is in compliance with the new pipeline ordinance.
It is.
Okay.
And again, to my understanding, the only waiver he is looking for to our current subdivision control ordinance is width of the lot. Well, yeah, width of the lot.
And probably some
and
setbacks. We'll probably vary some setbacks a little bit too.
So you'll give us that information, and it would be great if you could delineate the difference.
We will.
Okay, appreciate
And
that.
side yard,
Yeah,
So
side yard.
we'll do 8-foot side yards, which is R2. We're going to do that.
Okay.
We're not going to go down to 5 foot. So we're going to keep the 8-foot side yard. But your rear yard's 40 feet. I think we're going to ask for 30. And your front yard is typically floating from 25 to 40. I think we're going to go to 30. So that's not unusual at all. So, but on some of these corner lots, because of the weird shapes of some of these lots, I'm going to ask for a 20-foot side setback on the corner lots. 30-foot front, 20-foot side, because the corner lots are little, because of the shape of it, they're getting kind of weird looking. So, and that's drawn on the plan, so.
You got the additions in for the corner lot?
No, so that would be part of the PUD. We're gonna need some concessions on that too. The corner lots are not all 20% wider.
And I should have brought this up to Nick. Any variance from our standard ordinance control with the PUD would be great to note those. That'd be great. Just so, it just helps us understand what the process and procedures you're looking to get waivers from our standard R2 subdivision control ordinance.
Correct.
Are you planning on putting sidewalks parallel with Parish?
Yes.
Yes.
Some
Was
of
there-
some of the rear yards, you don't like show hardly any rear yard, some of the lots.
Can you give me a example?
The
Oh, the
the
angled
long
one.
straight road on the south side, there's one,
This one right
two, there's at least 2 lots that I see that have no rear yard, according to the picture.
Right after the side street. So if you're going down the long one, you pass 1, 2, the third turn in, the third road, you can turn right on. You'll see that house is sort of, it's a different size angled lot. And then the next street.
See it? Right, like right here, this one.
Oh, good enough, good call, Councilman. Yeah,
Give you a little bit bigger copy, maybe
it's 89,
it's easier to read on here.
yeah, like,
Oh, yeah.
I like that one, those two.
Looks like,
All the
90s.
lots are 150 foot deep.
yeah. Trying to get my,
No, you got it right. 96, 89,
yeah, 89,
96.
96.
Well, he can almost change the drive on that one. Move the drive to whatever that side road is gonna be,
Yeah, maybe on,
number 96.
yeah, 96 he could probably move. 89,
Again, you start moving those drive and don't have, that road's gonna be. All right,
but yeah, just take a look at that. Some of them, like I said, don't have any side yard or any rear yard.
Well, all those lots we'll call it in that center triangle island, They're all 150 foot deep, and they all have 30-foot rear yards.
Okay.
And we'll ask for 20-foot side building lines on those corner lots within there.
And Doug, if you could just put those measurements on
Yeah.
there, so everyone knows the dimensions of the lot.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you, sir.
Anything else?
Board, anything else for Doug or Michael? Comments, questions, concerns? So then you guys will start.
Well, sorry. I agree that I am concerned with the width of the lot. What did you say? They're 60 foot,
70.
70?
They're all 70 foot wide.
Yeah. They're going to look squished. I mean, I'd like to see wider lots and less density, but I'm always preaching to the choir about that one.
Hey, Donna, well, that's, I mean, you got to make your voice heard. That's why you're on this committee, so I appreciate that. All right, I think anyone else? We're good? All right, gentlemen, we'll see you next study session, so.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, we are done for the day. Everyone have a great evening and see you in a couple weeks.